Shaykh Hassan-Afandi Al-Kahibi, a knower of the revealed and the concealed. To be entitled to fully estimate the meaning of such an outstanding personality as Shaykh Hassan-Afandi Al-Kahibi, one should first exceed the letter in his knowledge. Due to our scarce knowledge in comparison to that of the Shaykh, and thus our unworthiness to write about him, we can merely mention some facts from his life in our striving to please Allah and His Messenger, alayhi salatu wassalam. In this article, the least thing we can do is to tell about the great teachers and masters who nourished the knowledge and the character of Hassan-Afandi, to describe his spiritual legacy, and to cite what the theologians of the past and the present used to say about the Shaykh. The revered Shaykh Hassan-Afandi was born in 1853 in Kahib village of the present Shamilski district of Dagestan, in the family of a theologian, Haji Muhammad, who was a distinguished scholar famous for his erudition, piety, and commitment in practicing his religious knowledge. His father died during Hajj and was buried near our foremother Hawa, Eve, having thus become a dweller of the sacred territory of Haram until the day of the Last Judgment. The mother of Hassan-Afandi, named Zuhaydat, had a reputation of a smart and a chaste woman. When Hassan was 6 years old, his mother sent him to study the Holy Quran. Due to his diligence, he learned to read the Quran and began to master other religious subjects. He thoroughly studied the sciences of Islam, as he had an outstanding memory and succeeded in learning by heart numerous books on Islamic subjects. Each day at dawn, Hassan-Afandi used to attend his classes in order to use the rest of the day for earning money as shepherd, the profession of all prophets. At night he stayed awake, reviewing his lessons. Soon he acquired such a broad knowledge that both common people and scholars asked him for his advice. He was so humble and modest that he got a nickname Al-Hilmi, Arabic for meek one. Hassan-Afandi was persecuted and exposed to repressions on behalf of the state authorities. In 1937, he was arrested by the Bolsheviks and sentenced to death. The place of his tomb remains unknown. A symbolic gravestone for his ziyarah is installed near the tomb of Saifullah Qadi. May Allah be pleased with him and bless his soul. The first teacher of Hassan-Afandi was a renowned theologian and a sheikh of a tariqah, Abdurrahman Haji from Asab village. After his death, Hassan-Afandi's teacher became Shu'aib Afandi from Bagini, who also was a recognized theologian, a sheikh of the Naqshbandi tariqah and an author of excellent essays. Then Hassan-Afandi was transferred under the patronage of a great son of Dagestan, a renowned scholar, a great teacher, an author of numerous essays on Islam and medicine, a multilingual scientist with command of more than 15 languages, the Mufti of the North Caucasus, and a statesman, Saifullah Qadi Bashlarov. Saifullah Qadi had remained the mentor of Hassan-Afandi until the latter reached the stage of spiritual perfection. He also presented his student with the precious garments of Ali ibn Abu Talib, may Allah be pleased with him. Saifullah Qadi was himself a student of the most renowned alims of Dagestan and ventured to Turkey and other countries to deepen his knowledge. In Bashkiria, he happened to study under the guidance of a distinguished scholar and a Sufi, Zainullah Sharif Rasulev. Saifullah Qadi has received an ijazah license or permission to teach the Naqshbandi tariqah and the other Islamic subjects, including tafsir, Quran interpretation, fiqh, Islamic jurisprudence, a hadith of the Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, etc. Since the era of the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, the alims have passed on such licenses that enabled their holders to issue Sharia verdicts and to teach Islamic subjects. For according to the saying of Sufyan al-Sawri, isnad, a chain of narrators who passed on the religious knowledge. A continuous isnad without missing links, therefore, is a guarantee of the safe knowledge transfer. is a weapon of a believer. If a believer possesses no weapon, he cannot wage war. Saifullah has received his permission through such isnad chain. In one of the letters addressed to Hassan-Afandi, Saifullah Qadi writes, "I have studied the works of all theologians, but I could not find a person more creditable and commendable than you, whom I could entrust the permission to guide and admonish people. So I am passing it into you." Later, Hassan-Afandi mentioned in his book, Al-Buruj al-Mushayyada, Fortified Towers, the subject which he had been given permission to teach by his ijazah. First, a hadith. He got the permission to teach Muslims the main 6 collections of ahadith. The ijazah has been issued through a flawless chain of scholars that could be flown back to the imams, collectors of the ahadith themselves. Second, tafsir, exegesis of the Holy Quran. Third, fiqh, Islamic jurisprudence. Fourth, tawheed, the science of the oneness of God. Fifth, performing various prayers. Sixth, the right to teach the book Dalailul Khayrat, the science of good works, a compilation of prayers and laudations of the Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, that used to be a reference and a handbook of many murids, disciples of a Sufi master in Bashkiria, Tatarstan, and Northern Caucasus. The book was published in Kazan. This practically means that Hassan-Afandi has been entitled to teach nearly all religious subjects through his master Saifullah Qadi and Zainullah Sharif Rasulov. In the same book, Hassan-Afandi cites a list of the book by renowned Muslim scholars which he had been entitled to teach through the chain of scholars. Let us name but a few of these authors. These are the Imams At-Tabarani, As-Suyuti, Abu Dawood, Darakutni, At-Tirmizi, Al-Shafi'i, Abu Hanifa, Malik ibn Anas, Ahmad ibn Khanbal, Abu Hamid al-Ghazali, An-Nawawi, Muhyiddin bin Arabi, Abdul Qadir Jilani, Ibrahim al-Dusuki, Abu Hassan al-Shazali, Shihabuddin Suhrawardi, Ahmad al-Asqalani, Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, Ibn Hajar al-Haytami, and many others, exceeding hundreds persons. May God be pleased with all those distinguished scholars of Islam. In addition to all this, Hassan-Afandi was given a permission to teach the various tariqas. Hassan-Afandi was thus a theologian, a Sufi, and a Shaykh of the Naqshbandi, Shazali, and Qadiri tariqats. He is an author of about 20 books expounding the basics of Sharia, Sufism, Islamic ethics, and many other subjects. Nowadays, the books of Hassan-Afandi are published in Syria and in Russia. Thanks to these books, many scholars found their way to the teaching of Tariqah. A renowned Shaykh of our days, Sayyid Afandi al-Chirkawi, speaks of Hassan-Afandi. He had a wonderful gift to clarify the truth. His speech was sweet like honey, and one could never get enough of learning from his pure knowledge. How eloquent and enjoyable his teaching was. The words of Hassan-Afandi were true, wise, and deep. He never uttered a word without this word being based on the Holy Quran or Sunnah. A righteous person will never deny the teaching of Hassan-Afandi. His brilliant essays are enough to prove that he was a spiritual successor of the Prophet, and his heart was full of the divine knowledge. As for instance, his work Khulasatul Adab, Compendium of Ethics, was written following the recommendation of Hassan-Afandi's spiritual master in order to teach murids the ethics of Sufism, since it is impossible to comprehend the meaning of Islam without living by ethics. The book was translated into Russian and published in Moscow. This book is highly estimated by the theologians both in the past and in the present. Shaykh Sayyid Afandi commented on this essay of Hassan-Afandi. The book Khulasatul Adab is like a treasure trove filled with pearls collected from the bottom of the ocean of knowledge. He who reads this book shall enjoy the new knowledge. Hassan-Afandi is a renovator and a standard bearer of Islam who attracted people like a magnet to make them follow the path of the truth. Another revered Shaykh, Shaykh also speaks of this book. Khulasatul Adab is a brilliant and a useful essay. Those who follow its advices shall achieve the main goal of a believer, the knowledge of God. It is a duty of each murid to read this book and to practice it. The revered Shaykh Hassan-Afandi was indeed one of those servants of God who, according to the will of the Almighty, possessed the concealed knowledge. Some facts from Hassan-Afandi's life make this clear. Hassan-Afandi finished his famous book Al-Buruj al-Mushayyada bin Nusus al-Muayyada, 45 towers of trustworthy texts, containing 350 pages and published in Syria within the time period of 2 weeks only. Another book of his, Talkhis al-Ma'arif, Summary of Knowledge, he finished in 1 week only. This indicates that he was writing this book through ilham, the divine inspiration. There is no other explanation how else he could thoroughly elaborate this book and to provide all the necessary references, just like in the case of his other essays, in such a short period of time. There are passages in the Holy Quran that point out that God bestows His beloved righteous servants and prophets with the knowledge of the concealed. For example, such is the story of the prophet Moses, and Hidr. The story goes that the prophet Hidr, peace be upon him, has committed things which Moses found unworthy and forbidden. However, later Moses found out that Hidr, peace be upon them, was bestowed with secret knowledge by Allah. Then he realized the righteousness of Hidr. It is known that Moses, peace be upon him, was one of the greatest prophets. Though the prophet Hidr, peace be upon him, was not a prophet of the same high level as Moses, but the knowledge of the concealed revealed to him by God has exceeded the knowledge of the prophet Musa, peace be upon them both. That is why, dear brothers and sisters, we should be cautious when we speak of such beloved servants of Allah as Shaykh Hassan-Afandi Al-Kahibi. That is for this reason that such theologians and spiritual masters as Hassan-Afandi are called in the religious literature Dhul Janahain, that is, having double knowledge, the worldly knowledge of the profane things and the secret knowledge of the concealed. May Allah guide us on the path of the truth. Amin.